I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 584 while doing medial plane training. And if you participate in the medial plane training, that's at your own risk. So the medial plane is once through the body and the training cross isometric exercise in the second half. Now in this video we want to talk about the cabinet, and we're trying to shoot a video in which we're going to say all which we learned about the cabinet. Here's it, that the Prime Minister appoints 20 senior MPs to become minister in charge of departments. And these include that someone becomes the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and I don't know how it's pronounced, and that person has been responsible for the economy. Or the Home Secretary, responsible for crime, policing and immigration, and also other things, and the Foreign Secretary, responsible for managing relationships with foreign countries. And there are also more secretaries of state, for example, and then other ministers representing them, education, health and defense. So we're having here Chancellor of Exchequer, Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, Secretary, Home Secretary. It's written with a Y, so Home Secretary. Okay, Chancellor of Exchequer, Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, and then other ones. Secretaries of State, Secretaries of State, Education, Health, Defense. And all these ministers together are in the cabinet, and they are meeting from time to time, for example, once a week. And when we're talking about important decisions which the government then is doing. And many of these decisions, when decided on, have to be debated on and approved on in the parliament. And these departments then have a number of ministers, and they are called Ministers of State and Parliamentary Under-Secretaries of State. Okay, Ministers of State or Parliamentary Under-Secretaries of State. I think I understand it now. I think I do understand it now. There's a Prime Minister, and he appoints the Secretaries of State, and the Secretaries of State have the Ministers of State. So are we no ministers? Other ministers called Secretaries of State, responsible for subject Under Secretaries of State. Ministers of State, Secretaries of State, but they are ministers. The other ones are the under ministers, but they're also called Ministers of State, and the Secretaries of State are also ministers. Okay, let's try to do it. I have a second camera, which I'm going to start now. And now I try to say what we had here. Let's just start. We're going to see how far we go. The cabinet. So there's voting happening, and the party with the most members of parliament then, which have won. Oh, that's not good. The cabinet. So in the United Kingdom there's voting happening, and in all these constants. No, that's not good. The cabinet. By the general election in the United Kingdom, one political party wins, and the leader of that political party becomes the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister then picks around 20 people to become the ministers, the Secretaries of State. For example, is there then the Secretary of Chancellor of Exchequer, Chancellor of Exchequer. But it was not so bad to explain it that way. The cabinet. By the general election, one political party wins, and the leader of that political party is the Prime Minister. And this Prime Minister then selects around 20 people of his political party to become Secretaries of State. For example, is there the Chancellor of Exchequer, responsible for the economy, the Home Minister, also the Home Secretary, Home Secretary. The cabinet. In the United Kingdom, after the general election had happened, and the leader of the party which had won the general election becomes the Prime Minister, this Prime Minister doesn't the Cabinet. During the general election, where is then voted for one... No. The Cabinet. One political party wins the general election in the United Kingdom, and the leader of that political party becomes the Prime Minister. And this Prime Minister then selects 20 of his fellow party members to become Secretaries of State. There's, for example, the Chancellor of Exchequer, responsible for the economy, or the Home Secretary, responsible for police, crime or immigration, or the Foreign Secretary, responsible for the relationships with other countries. And there are also other Secretaries of State for education, health, for defense, or other ones. Now, and all these ministers selected by the Prime Minister to have all these Secretaries of State, they are then the Cabinet. And they are, for example, once a week meeting, and then they are discussing what things we have agreeing on and how we want to go forward in the coming week or the coming time to come. So they're meeting and they are deciding when they're talking about what the course will be for the following time. And that is according to the Life in UK Test Handbook, page 111 and 112, or rather 13 and 14. It doesn't really make all the proper sense. I had to flip the pages. We're going to do it actually again, because we want to say that each department... Oh, but who are these departments now? These departments are these... the ministers are called Secretaries of State, and these are then departments. And these departments have ministers of state. The Cabinet. In the United Kingdom, there happens general election every 5 years, and the leader of a political party which wins the general election becomes the Prime Minister. And this Prime Minister then selects 20 of his fellow party members to become Secretaries of State. For example, one person becomes the Chancellor of Exchequer. The Cabinet. In the United Kingdom, after the general election had happened, the leader of a political party who had won the general election becomes the Prime Minister. And then the Prime Minister selects 20 of his fellow party members to become Secretaries of State. One person becomes, for example, the Chancellor of Exchequer, responsible for the economy. Another person might become the Home Secretary, responsible for crime, police, immigration. Another person might become the Foreign Secretary. And that person is then responsible for relationships with other countries. There are other Secretaries of State, for example, health, education, defense. All these people are meeting then, around 20 others, around 20 Secretaries of State with 20 departments. They are meeting once a week as the Cabinet, and they are the Cabinet. And they are then discussing how we want to go on in the following time in their policies. And that is according to the Life in UK Test Handbook, page 113 and 114. Now, I wanted to say the thing about Ministers of State. But I don't know if we should say that as part of a cabinet. It confuses a bit. It's so complex. We already went on to explain how the cabinet COVID all happens. It wasn't the best take. I'm a bit at a time for this. I'm going to stop the camera and we're going to take this as the cabinet. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to stop. That's just the next little media plan training. So, however we go on, not in this part. If you're here for either that or something new, you can go directly to the next video. We will do now the media plan training. If you participate in the media plan training, that is at your own risk. And we're warming up. If you're not already. Bring the leg up and we're pointing the foot down, and we're bringing it up and down, up and down, down. Now the other leg. Foot up, down. And having a leg sitting with the partner, we're breathing in. And now breathe in and close the legs. First exercise. We're bringing one leg up into a right angle. We're having a flexed foot, even line hips, we're tall off the back, and we're pressing from the top against the knee. You can do it quite easy. Already standing like that is an exercise. You can also press a bit more effort. So. And we're changing the other leg up and we're pressing against it. And again the leg up and we're pressing on the inside. Even aligned hips, tall off the back, and a little bend in the elbow. And the other leg up, and we're pressing from the inside against it. And the leg up. Now when you press this up to the side. And with the other leg. When you press it up to the side. Even line hips, tall off the back. When you press it up to the side. And next exercise, the heavy swing low. One leg up into a right angle, even line hips, tall off the back, and we're pressing the outside against the knee, have a little bend in the elbow, and we're opening slowly. And we're closing again slowly. Opening again slowly. And we're opening again slowly. Now what the problem is, we have prepared the video properly. We never did, but we just forgotten it. And the last step. We just read it, but not looked at. We are able really to list the Secretaries of State. And we did not really understand it all. The other leg. Same setup, and we press it from the outside. And we open it slowly. And we're closing it slowly. And we're opening. And we're closing again. And again. And slowly closing. And the last time. Closing exercise for breathing in. Out. Now we're feeling close to the legs. That was a medium training. I thank you very much and until next time.